як то, що вони би мали у краю. I want to thank you for coming here today and welcome you to the small village of Gardenton. In the late 1920s, if you're wondering how come there is no businesses here and how did this museum really get started, in the late 1920s there was approximately 27 businesses in operation in Gardenton. From 5 dealerships to 7 stores, we had the flour mill, the creamery, the CN station, and it was the booming town. Because of poor drainages and poor farming land, the children of our pioneers have moved on. Although a lot of them do come back home, which is the festival that we celebrate today, a lot of them do come back home here to see some of the friends that they've left behind, and a lot of them are checking for some of the families that have been forgotten. I would like to remind some of you people that if you would like to check out for some of your families, please do so at the museum. I am here pretty well 7 days a week for the next probably 6 months. We've got a lot of history on the Ukrainian people who settled here. A lot of them came here and settled with their friends from the Ukraine, and then because of the poor land here, they moved on to different areas. I have a number of people coming here and asking about their family roots, and a lot of them buried in the cemeteries here where the rest of the relatives have moved on to other regions of Canada.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you very much, Linda, for the introduction. It is a great pleasure for me to be in my hometown. I used to come here every year, but somehow didn't visit the festival as much as I would have liked to because of other commitments. So it's extra treat for me to speak to people that maybe I recognize. Their hair is a little different color like mine, and maybe a few more wrinkles like I have. So I'm really pleased to be here. And when I was asked to speak today, I wondered, what should I talk about? I was born here, as Linda said, just a couple of miles west at my grandfather's homestead, Vasil and Alexandra Shauchuk. They were one of the original settlers in the area. My grandfather, in fact, was one of the builders of the historical church that some of you might have visited, which bordered his homestead. So I thought, well, what should I talk about? Well, I'll talk about my experience as a Canadian of Ukrainian descent, a descent of one of the early Ukrainian immigrants to Canada. While still young and at home, one takes things like history and ancestry for granted. Of course, when you're 15, 16, 17, you can't get away fast enough from the small towns. You go to the big city, and I was no exception. Discrimination was rampant against Ukrainians upon their arrival until about the 1960s. And some of you probably remember those Ukrainian jokes that weren't very funny. Many of us didn't like to admit that we were Ukrainian, but when asked, we would say, I'm Canadian, I was born here. After I left home and married and had children, I began to think more about my ancestry. I used to come to visit my parents, John and Elizabeth, a week each year. My mother, Elizabeth, would tell me about the history of the settlers in this area, the Sturtburn colony. And I listened and wondered about those Ukrainians, your ancestors and mine. Why did they come? What was life in those days here in Gardenton and other communities like Vida, Sturtburn, Tolstoy, Rosa, Arbaca, Sundown, Sirka? There were hardships and scandals. There was even a murder. The good and the bad, like in every ethnic area on the prairie. And then there were the happy times when people got together at weddings and concerts. There used to be a lot of drama in in the Ukrainian national homes and at the church and on certain holy days. And very similar to the big get-together like today, Patra. Many of you probably know Patra. I even remember Patra and getting ice cream. It was so exciting. And that was the holy day of St. Peter and St. Paul. As the years went on, I began to read books and articles about Ukrainian Canadians. And then I wrote my master's thesis on Ukrainian Canadian women activists, the first ones that did so much for women. In almost every book I read, I came across Ukrainians in the Sturdbird colony. Well, I knew what that was. Where do these people come from who settled the Sturdbird area, I wondered. And then I heard Galicia, Halachina, Bukovina, Austro-Hungarian Empire. They were Austrians, Ruthenians. Well, which one were they? Well, all of them. Some are from Bukovina, many of you may be from there, and others from Halachina, which were the provinces of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So they were Austrian. Their passports said they were Austrian. But when you talk to them, that many years ago at the turn of the century, they were me Bukovenci, me Halachani, and so on. Well, these people have to be united somehow. So in 1921, an intellectual from Ukraine went through to the United States and on to Canada and right here and decided that these people should be united, not Bukovenci and Halachani and Ruthenians. So he knew that we were all Ukrainians. So it wasn't until 1921 that all these people that came from Western Ukraine, which was Austria, began to be known as Ukrainians. So it's fairly recent that we are actually called Ukrainians. These people that came from Bukovina lived in little isolated villages, and all they really knew was their little village and their province. Now, 90% of the first Ukrainian immigrants from 1896 to 1900, and I'll only go up to 1900, came from the districts of Barchiv and Zelishchikia in Halachina, or as the English Canadians called it, or the Anglo-Canadians called it, Galicia, and the districts of Zastavna and Kitsman in Bukovina. Some of you will probably recognize those districts. I'm going to go through some of the names, and some of you will remember, and some of them you'll jog your memory that they used to be here, or you're from that family. We had family names in Halachina. From the district of Barshchiv, well, we had in Vaida, we have the Andreev, Balinskis, Baretskis, Antonichuk, Didyuk, Bugeras, and then Bugeras in Gardenton as well. Now in Gardenton, these are the ones that settled. Balan, Dukun, Panchuk, Fosti, Hamanyuk, and Hamanyuk's in Sturdburn as well. Prokopchuk, Tolstoy, and Gardenton. In Tolstoy, we had the Boyko, the Danaleko, Kozak, Lenik, Nedohin, Ottawa, Chubay, Manzi. Now, Manzis were in Sturdburn and in Tolstoy because more than one family came. In Sturdburn, we have the Damanskis, who are in Regina today. Goy, Klim, Kreinik, Leszuk, Paskarik, Sirman, Stefuk, Kaplinski, and Sesmistruk, who also went to Vaida. So I'm sure that some of you are nodding your head, oh yes, I've heard those names. Now from the district of Zalishchikia, in Tolstoy we have Bialis. I think there's some Bialis here. Bazawi, which were in Sturdburn, German, Saranchuk, Arsenius, who settled in Gardenton. And in Gardenton we had the Driziks, the Lilik, and the Shella. In Sarta we had the Ivanchuk. Sturdburn we had Horrible, and also in Tolstoy, another family. Horobatsis, the Karegas, the Cahoots that I think are here some. Kalichkowski, Salamandik, Skripnik. In Sankyu we had Tanchuks. Vaida we had the Smooks. Those were from Halachina. Now from Bukovina, see if some of you remember these. From Kitsman, in Gardenton we had Hrenik, Orletsky, Pushtar, Stipyuk, Glowatsky, and Boyda, as well as in Tolstoy. Zastavna, in Gardenton, that's where they all settled from Zastavna. You had Hudem, Kekot, Kovalyuk, Makhny, Olenek, Paulyuk, Roshko, Sando, Seredyuk, Shauchuk, Skwarchuk, Shedlowski, Terran, Dostavarik, Vuchar, Kostanyuk, which were also in Tolstoy, Warenyuk, Zahara, who were in Vaida as well. And then Lakotsi, they're just south of here, and these all settled in Gardenton. Kasawans, Malay, Okadechuk, Shepik, Sidor, Jeha, Safruk in Tolstoy. There are many other names from other districts in Halachina and Bukovina and who came after the 1900s, and I will not recite them to you, but probably some of you will be able to tell me some names that you remember. The families, when they came, almost always asked to have homesteads to board those who were already here. It was especially important for women who were used to living in villages in Ukraine, because they certainly did not live like they did in Canada or do in Canada. They would have a village together, and then their land would radiate from the village. So these women really needed the companionship. If their homesteads here in Canada were close, they could visit at least once in a while, then if it was miles apart. Now, I can just show you my blouse. My blouse, for instance, my mother made it in 1929. She really didn't know the Bukovinsky pattern of this blouse because her parents came from Halachina. But their neighbor, Fedoruk, Mrs. Fedoruk, was a wonderful arts person who knew, so she was able to go. This was very important to women, to have friends. Well, social life was, of course, important to them as it is to us. And of course, what did they do without TV? I don't know. I found that some people had moved away from this area after 2 to 5 years because the area, as it has been said before, could not sustain so many people, and the land was swampy with acidic soil and not suitable for good harvests. These were, over the years, believed that the English forced the Ukrainian immigrants to settle in this less desirable land, and were not encouraged to settle more suitable, profitable agriculture. However, after examinations by historians of documents filed in Ottawa and in Winnipeg, and documented at the time of the homestead by the Ukrainians, it was revealed that these Ukrainian immigrants wanted to settle in the wooded areas, as you see around you, so that they would have fuel and building material for shelter. And that makes an awful lot of sense. The remaining homesteads on open prairie with fertile land did not appeal to them. In the old country in Ukraine, they had to pay for wood, and they were at the mercy of the rich landlords, the pania. Now they can have all the wood they wanted, and nobody can control them. Another reason that they settled here was that the immigration officers felt it was beneficial to the immigrants if they settled near German immigrants, since German immigrants originally from Ukraine could speak Ukrainian and also were more established on their land because they had come to this area much earlier. Hence, the new immigrants could get employment from the German farmers and much needed cash, as well as being able to communicate with them. The third reason was that every ethnic group in Canada, they wanted to be near their countrymen because of the common culture and language. In Manitoba and close to this area, not far from here, there are pockets of French, German, English, and of course the Ukrainians. And across the whole prairie, you can map. In Saskatchewan, you have the Romanians and the Hungarians and the Ukrainians and the English. And in Manitoba, right around here, you have St. Malo, St. Pierre with the French and Steinbach with the Germans and so on. If you were to go to any city in Canada, except perhaps Quebec and the Atlantic provinces, maybe a little bit there, you would find a number of families who could trace their Baba and Jida to this area. In Saskatchewan, areas like Shiho, Erin, Kamsack can trace their families back to this area, as well as those in the Peace River country in Alberta, and probably a number of you have family there. Then there is Edmonton and Calgary, of course, in British Columbia, in Vancouver, interior BC. In Ontario, you'll find many Gardentoians in Toronto. And then there's Thunder Bay, Fort Frances, and I think there's some here from Dryden. Many also went to the States, Montana, Minnesota, North Dakota, California, and so on. Yes, many have left this area. But we must be thankful to those who stayed behind, the visionaries who cared enough about their culture and their identity to revitalize the celebration of the holy day of July 12th, because they used to celebrate this for many, many years in the first half of the 20th century. And they also had the vision to build this museum to house the artifacts so that their children and their children's children could appreciate the pride in retaining and preserving one's culture and history. This day and this museum acts as a beacon to the descendants of those early Ukrainian pioneers, a beacon to welcome you all home, Some of you are welcomed home, and others are welcome to discover the identity and the legacy of those first Ukrainian immigrants to Canada. Every culture should be proud of every people should be proud of their culture. I was the chairperson of Mosaic, which is similar to Folklorama in Regina, and I went to all the different ethnic different groups, and what you can learn from other groups. And I know that there are some people here who are not of Ukrainian descent, of Scandinavian descent, and of British descent. And I welcome them especially here to visit the museum, learn some about one of the immigrants that came to Canada to open up the West, where there was nothing and hardship. However, they have conquered all to be able to be proud of who they are. I would just like to say a few words that I hope that you all appreciate the museum, and I think it'd be nice if we all gave a round of applause to the directors who've been able to keep this going. I'll only be another minute, and that is to say, as Linda said, it takes a lot of manpower and a lot of money, so be generous. Thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, ladies, give them a big round of applause. And they were going to perform the ever popular Privit. It's a traditional bread and wheat dance, and watch as they make the kolache from the harvest right through to the oven. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, give it up for the Solo Ukrainian dancers.